Welcome to Statistics. My name is Dr. Tuane. Our topic today is the arithmetic mean. At the end of the class, you'll be able to calculate the arithmetic mean for the individual series. You'll be able to calculate the arithmetic mean for the discrete series and also for the continuous series. You'll be able to handle cases of missing values. If you're presented with a situation where some values are missing and you're asked to compute the missing values, by the end of this class, you'll be able to do that satisfactorily. Please do well to subscribe to our channel, like our videos, share our videos with your friends. Thank you. Now, what is arithmetic mean? The arithmetic mean of a set of numbers x1, x2, x3, and it continues to xn, denoted by x bar. Now, this is read as, you see, x bar. That's how you read this. X with a bar on top. Do you understand? Denoted as x bar is defined as, we'll say, x bar is equal to, now look at the definition now. X bar is equal to this x1, we'll say x1 plus this x2, plus this x3, plus it continue like that to plus xn all over n. So that's the arithmetic mean of a set of numbers. You sum all the values and divide by the number of occurrence, so that this s can be any value ranging from age of the respondent. It could be a scores in a test or in an examination. It could be any value. Okay, now we can simplify this or write in a reduced form as we say x bar is equal to, now because of this summation, we say x1 plus x2 plus. Now because of the summation, we'll now bring in the summation sign. I will say summation of, we'll call it our xi, as I goes from 1, 2, 3 up to n. We'll say as I goes from 1 to n. All of that over n. Or we can also write that as summation. We'll say summation of xi as our I goes from 1 to n. All of that over n. Okay? So what we have here is what we have written in a reduced form as this. So now, let's look at an example. The scores of a Premier League team in 5 preseason matches is presented below. You are required to compute the arithmetic mean. So the scores are, we'll say, the first match they scored 1. The second match they scored 5. The third match they scored 6. The fourth match they scored 3. And in the last match they scored 10. Now, what is the average goal scored by this Premier League team? The question is, what is the average goal scored by this Premier League team? So we are now going to use this formula and say that our x bar is equal to, we have summation of xi as our I goes from 1 to n all over n. And this is equal to, since we know that this summation is the same as this, it's going to be the sum of all of these values. That will be 1 plus this 5 plus 6 plus 3 plus 10 all over. How many values do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All over 5. And that will be equal to what? 25 over 5. And 25 over 5 is equal to 5. So the average goal scored by that team during the preseason is 5. You understand? The average goal scored by the team during the preseason is 5. Now, let's look at another example. It is also possible that these values may occur with frequencies. By that I mean that each value, like we have 5, may occur more than one time. And so when the value occur with frequencies, such that we have our x1, x2, x3, up to xn, okay, occur with frequencies we have f1, f2, f3, and we continue to fn. That is, these values occur this number of times. Then what is the arithmetic mean? In that case, we will say that the arithmetic mean x bar, as defined earlier, is equal to, so we have f1 x1, f1 times x1 plus f2 times x2 plus we have f3 times x3 plus, and it will continue to plus f and xn. All of that over, now we have f1 plus f2 plus f3 plus it will continue to plus fn. You see? So we are invariably saying that the product of the frequencies and the values, the sum of the product of the frequencies and the values, all over the total number of occurrence. And so we can also summarize this as x bar is equal to, so we have, because of this summation, we have summation of f I x I, as our I goes from 1 to n, all over summation of f I, as our I goes from 1 to n. This can also be written as summation of f I x I, as I goes from 1 to n, all over summation of f I, as our I goes from 1 to n. So what we have here is the same as what we have summarized this way. And so we can also apply this to compute our arithmetic mean. Okay, now let's look at an example. The total number of goals scored by a Premier League team in one Premier League season is tabulated below. What is the average goal scored? Or calculate the arithmetic mean. So we have the table as this. Now x are the number of goals scored. X, we have the x as the number of goals scored. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now, frequencies, like we are saying, the values occurred with frequencies. So how many times does the team score 0 goals? 2. How many times did they score 1? 2. Now, how many times did they score 2? 5 times. In that Premier League season, how many times did they score 3? 9. How many times did they score 4? 6 times. How many times did they score 5? 3. And they scored 6 times, only 1. They scored 6 goals, only one time. Now you are asked to calculate the arithmetic mean. Now we must understand that for us to calculate the arithmetic mean, we first of all write the formula. And the formula is that the arithmetic mean x bar is equal to, we have summation, okay, of fi xi, as our I goes from 1 to n, all over summation of fi as I goes from 1 to n. And that will be equal to what? Now, what is the sum of fi xi? It means that we must create a column first and call it fx, so that when we sum it, they will have summation of fx. Okay? And in that case, we'll create a column and call it fx, which means we have multiplied this by this. So, therefore, what we do is to multiply this by this. So, 0 times 2 will be 0. 1 times 2 will be 2. 2 times 5 will be 10. 3 times 9 will be 27. 4 times 6 will be 24. And 5 times 3 will be 15. While 6 times 1 will be 6. So that the summation of our fx, which is what we have here, if we sum all of this, it will be equal to 84. However, the frequencies, which is number of times it occurs, is 2 plus 2, 4, 9, 18, 24, 27, 28. So sum of f is equal to 28. Now, if we substitute all of that here in the formula, it means this is going to be 84 all over 84 over 28. And that is equal to what? 3. So the average goal scored by that team in the whole season is equal to 3. Okay? It is interesting. Very interesting. So now, let us try another method, the one we call assume mean method. This is what we have. Eh? And then we are to use the assume mean to calculate this. Now, we have x as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we are saying that f is 2, 2, 5, 9, 6, 3, and 1. If we are to use the assume mean method, then we are going to assume that any of this value is a mean. So if we assume any of this value to be the mean, then it means that we are going to call that A, assume mean. Our A is equal to. Now, what should we assume here from this value 0 to 9? 5. Okay, so let's assume that the mean is 5. It means our A is equal to 5. So that D will be equal to x minus A. And which means we are saying x minus 5, because A is equal to 5. Now, when that happens, it means that the x here is 0. 0 minus 5. So we have minus 5. 1 minus 5 will be minus 4. 2 minus 5 will be minus 3. 3 minus 5 will be minus 2. 4 minus 5 will be minus 1. 5 minus 5 will be 0. And 6 minus 5 will be 1. So that FD will be multiplying this F by D values. So 2 times minus 5 will be minus 10. 2 times minus 4 will be minus 8. 5 times minus 3 will be minus 15. 9 times minus 2 will be minus 18. 6 times minus 1 will be minus 6. And then 3 times 0 will be 0. 1 times 1 will be 1. So that the sum of this will be equal to minus 56. Okay? Now, by formula, our x bar, when we are using assume mean method, is equal to A plus, we have summation of f I D I as our I goes from 1 to n all over summation of fi as our I goes from 1 to n. Okay? Now, remember we assume our mean A, the assumed mean is 5. This plus is this. The whole of this is what we computed as what? Minus 56. So this will be minus 56 all over the whole of this is 28. Sum of f, which is this 28. So this will be equal to 5. Now minus 56 over 28 is equal to 2. So which will be 5 minus 2. And 5 minus 2 is equal to 3. So that's the assumed mean method. And then see what we did initially, and we got 3. So from the assumed mean method, we're also getting 3. Okay, now let's look at another scenario. Sometimes you might be presented with continuous series such that now the number of goals scored in a particular season in the Premier League are calculated as thus. You are expected to calculate the average goal score. Now this table is saying that 4 teams scored 0 to 20 goals in a season. The number of teams that scored goals within 0 to 20 4. The number of teams that scored goals 20 to 40 are 6. 9 teams scored 40 to 60 goals. 8 teams scored 60 to 80 goals. And 3 teams scored 80 to 100 goals. You will expect that this thing will be the first, second, these 3 teams will be the first, second, third teams. Now, you are asked to calculate the arithmetic mean. Now, to calculate the arithmetic mean, which is the average goal score in the entire season, now will be the first thing to do. Step 1, calculate x, which we call the midpoint of the class. Our x will be the midpoint of this class. And midpoint will be 0 plus 20, which is 20, divided by 2, 10. Now, this will be 20 plus 40, that's 60, divided by 2, 30. So the formula is like adding the lower class limit to the upper class limit and dividing the result by 2. You know, this is lower class limit, this is upper class limit. In a situation where you have so many classes, the best you can do is to say, what's the difference between the first one you computed and the second one? And you see that the difference is 20. So if you add 20 to this, it will be what? 50. If you add 20 to this, it will be 70. If you add 20 to this, it will be 90. It will be so correct because if you say 40 plus 60, which is the lower class limit plus the upper class limit, divide by 2, that will be this plus this is 100 divided by 2 is 50. So it's correct. 60 plus 80 is 140 divided by 2 is 70. 80 plus 100 is 180 divided by 2 is 90. So the next step is to do what? Calculate what we call fx. And our fx is what? Multiplying f by x. So 4 times 10 will give you what? 40. Is it not? 3 times 30 will give you what? 180. 9 times 50 will give you 450. Thank you. 8 times 70 will give you 560. And then 3 times 90 will give you 270. So the summation of our fx is equal to, if you sum all of this, it will give us what? 1,500. Also, if we sum our frequency, 4, 6 is 10, 19, 27, 30, which is the number of teams in the Premier League. And so the average goal scored, X bar, is equal to, we say summation of Fi Xi, as our I goes from 1 to N all over summation of Fi, as our I goes from 1 to N. And this will be equal to, the whole of this is what we have computed as what? 1,500 all over. The whole of this is what we have computed as this, which is our sum of F. And that's equal to 30. So which is, we'll say our X bar therefore is equal to 1,500 over 30 is 50. So the average goal scored by the teams in the Premier League is 50. We can say on average, each team in the Premier League that particular season scored 50 goals. Though some scored up to 100 and some scored even less than 20. Okay, now this is the same problem we are given, but we want to use a different method. And this method is called the assume mean method, where our X bar is equal to A plus summation of Fi di, as our I goes from 1 to N all over summation of Fi as our I goes from 1 to N. That's the formula for the assume mean method. So if we are to use the assume mean method, let's assume any of these values here to be the arithmetic mean. So yes, do you have anything to say? Okay, let's assume that the mean is 40. So which means A, in fact, before that, we'll calculate the midpoint. So our midpoint is X. Call it midpoint. Our midpoint is X. So the midpoint will be lower class limit, like we said, plus upper class limit divided by 2. 0 plus 20 will be 20. Divide by 2 will give us 10. 20 plus 40 is 60. Divided by 2 will give us 30. And if we continue with that, we'll have 50, 70, and 90. Okay, so the next thing will be our assume mean. We're assuming that the mean is what? 40. So if we assume 40 to be the mean, now our D is given as X minus A. X, look at the X value. A, we have assumed A to be 40. So 10 minus 40 will be minus 30. 30 minus 40 will be minus 10. 50 minus 40 will be 10. And then 70 minus 40 will be 30, and then 90 minus 40 will be 50. So that our FD, create another column and call it FD. We'll be multiplying this by D. This is F and this is D. 4 times minus 1 minus 30 will be minus 120. 6 times minus 10 will be minus 60. Okay? 9 times 10 will be 90. 8 times 30 will be 240. And 3 times 50 will be 150. So if we sum all of this, we'll have what? 300. So remember that the formula for the assume mean method is given as, we'll say X bar is equal to A plus, now we'll have summation of Fi di, as our I goes from 1 to N all over summation of Fi as our I goes from 1 to N. So that's the formula for arithmetic mean using the assume mean method. Now, from what we have here, our X bar will be equal to, remember also that we said we assume the mean to be 40. So A would be 40 plus. Now the whole of this summation of F IDI is what we have here as what? 300 all over. Now the sum of F is this, which is this and this is 10, 19, and 30. Okay? 10, 19, 27, 30. So that's all over 30, which will be 40 plus 10, and that will be equal to 50. So the average goal scored is 50, which is also the same as what we obtained using the other method. Now, the last thing we are going to look at is missing values when we have a continuous series. Now, the question is this. Okay, look at this table. The question is, this table presents the goals scored by Premier League teams in a season. The question is, if the average goals scored in that season is 50, how many teams scored 20 to 40 goals? If the average goals scored is what? 50. How many teams scored 20 to 40 goals? So 4 teams scored 0 to 20 goals. How many? We don't know. This one we don't know. Let's call it X, or still our Y. Let's call it X. 9 teams scored 40 to 60 goals. 8 teams scored 60 to 80 goals. And then 3 teams scored. How many teams scored this? Now, note that our arithmetic mean, X bar, is giving us summation of F I X I all over summation of F I, as our I goes from 1 to N. Now, what we are to do here, firstly, is to get X, which we call the midpoint. And the midpoint, like we obtained earlier, the midpoint of this class will be 10. 10, 0 plus 20 is 20 divided by 2 is 10. 20 plus 40, 60 divided by 2 is 30. And this is 100 divided by 2, 50. I will continue with that. We have 70 and 90. Okay? Now, the next column is fx. We'll create a column, call it fx. So 4 times 10 will be what? 40. X times 30 will be 30x. 9 times 50 will be what? 450. 8 times 70 will be what? 560. And 3 times 90 will be 270. Now, the next is to add these values. And so our sum of f will be equal to, we don't know the value of x, so we're not going to add it. So we'll just have 4 plus 9, 13, plus 8, 21, plus 3. So we'll have 24, and we'll say plus the x that we don't know what the value is. So we'll also come here. If we say 40 plus 450 plus 560 plus 270, it will be 1320. Okay? But plus 30x, because you don't know the value of that x. Now remember that the formula for arithmetic mean is given as this. So it will mean that we'll have this, which is what? We are told from the question that the average goal scored in the season is what? 50. So this is going to be 50 is equal to, we have obtained all of this as 1320 plus 30x. Okay? Okay? So that is all over, and then we also obtain this as 24 plus x. So if we just cross multiply, we have 50 into 24 plus x is equal to 1320 plus 30x. Now if we open this bracket, 50 times 24 will be 1200 plus 50 times x will be 50x. And that's equal to, eh? That's equal to 1320. This value plus 30x. If we collect like terms, this 50x. Now, another term containing x is here 30. So it will cross to be minus 30x is equal to. So we have 1320. Then another constant term is this, which will cross to be minus 1200. Okay? So this minus this will be 20x is equal to. If we subtract this from this, we have 120. So our x will be equal to 120 all over 20. And that's equal to 6. So which means here, our x here is equal to 6. So the number of teams that scored 20 to 60 goals is 6. We're saying 6 teams scored 20 to 40 goals. The implication of this result is that x is equal to 6, meaning that 6 teams scored 20 to 40 goals. Please do well to subscribe to the channel, like our video, share our video with your friends. God bless you.